Well, we gather this morning for a service of worship centered on the reading and singing of the Psalms. And someone might ask, why do we do this? We do this because this is something the people of God have done through the ages. We do this to be reminded of an aspect of Christian life which is too widely forgotten today. We do this in order to obey a scriptural command, which is too often forgotten. Colossians 3:16 says, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God." And Ephesians 5:19 also says, "Be filled with the Spirit, addressing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with your heart." So we're commanded to sing the Psalms as part of our worship. Not to sing only the Psalms, but certainly to sing them as a part of what we do. We find Jesus singing the Psalms in the New Testament. When he and the disciples leave the Last Supper, they're singing a psalm. The worldview of the New Testament is itself psalm-shaped and psalm-saturated. The New Testament quotes from the Psalms more than any other Old Testament book. And when you see the flow of the New Testament, Jesus dies with a psalm on his lips. And then the church is launched at Pentecost with a sermon on the Psalms. And the first prayer meeting after Pentecost, the church prays a psalm. So we need to recover today the power and the formative influence of the Psalms, something that our forebears knew quite well. I could give a lot of quotes here, but just a few to kind of prepare us. St. John Chrysostom said, "Do you wish to be happy? Do you want to know how to spend the day truly blessed? Learn to sing the Psalms. Then you will see pleasure indeed. Those who have learned to sing with the Psalms are easily filled with the Holy Spirit." Or Martin Luther, "The Psalter ought to be a precious and beloved book, if for no other reason than this. It promises Christ's death and resurrection so clearly, and pictures his kingdom and the condition and nature of all Christendom, that it might well be called a little Bible. In it is comprehended most beautifully and briefly everything that is in the entire Bible. It is really a fine handbook. In fact, I have a notion that the Holy Spirit wanted to take the trouble himself to compile a short Bible and book of examples of all Christendom for all saints, so that anyone who could not read the whole Bible would have here anyway almost an entire summary of it comprised in one little book." The singing of the Psalms has been a source of particular comfort as well to Christians in suffering. It plays a prominent role that way throughout the Reformation, where the singing of the Psalms in the common tongue, the language of the people, was a mark of being identified with the Reformation, and enough in certain places to get you imprisoned. There's story after story of people in the midst of persecution praying together, singing together the Psalms, and even calling out, "Let's sing," and they say a number, and everybody knows whatever number they're mentioning because they have the Psalms by heart. I've said in various places, when I see the mighty oaks, the mighty spiritual oaks that grow out of the soil of the Psalms, it makes me want to use the same fertilizer. It was Dietrich Bonhoeffer who said, "Whenever the Psalter is abandoned, an incomparable treasure vanishes from the Christian church. With its recovery will come unsuspected power." Let us join then this morning with the saints through the ages in hearing and singing the Psalms.